All right, so y'all might be wondering, why is a chiropractor talking about energy, or why is a chiropractor talking about burnout? And I just had a recent podcast episode. My good friend Ashley Taylor, who's a nurse up in Phoenix, who just exited the hospital system last year, because I'm gonna stay focused on nurses in this moment. They've been compressed for a long time. You put COVID on the world the last few years, that added a lot more demand and a lot more stress on things. So to be able to have a lot of nurses, physicians moving through this like exodus, or a lot of people, welcome, a lot of people are just heading out of this, giving up on this profession, letting go of this profession, I think is vitally important. I got my favorite teacher in the world, Mrs. Marinko, on the call, AKA Jen, which is so weird to call her Jen still. But teachers as well too. I think teachers are the unsung heroes of society, as whatever isn't being taken care of at home is being directly brought to school, and then kids are jerks, so they're just traumatizing each other. And teachers are just out here holding space, not being compensated, and needing to do this thing year round, essentially. So the gravity, the weight, the importance of this, I just can't help but move myself from it. And a little bit of my story, as there's some new faces here, I'll keep this nice and concise because I want this to be about y'all. I come from a loving home. I got a Peruvian queen, I got a black king, as my two parents brought me into this world. I'm from Connecticut, so the Southwest is very enjoyable. Big fan of the Southwest. The Northeast is just different. It's cold, it's chilly. Y'all cute when you say, oh, it's cold, it's like 50 degrees, or y'all got a little bit of frost, and people don't know how to drive in rain. Y'all make me laugh, man. Y'all make me laugh. But it's really beautiful to be here. My parents gave me everything, but there'd be so many nights where I would find my father like just passed out in his recliner, just knocked out, half-eaten bowl of cereal. And there'd be so many times I'd grab it from him, walk him back to his bed, because he'd just be exhausted. How many parents we got in the building? Raise your hand. Okay. How many furry parents we got in the building? Raise your hand. Oh, okay. How many healthcare professionals we got in the building? Raise your hand. How many, I'll say, estheticians, salon owners, hairdressers we got in the building? Raise your hand. Hey, there we go. There's energetic principles here. There are principles of dis-ease or stress. I'll just keep it nice and simple as stress, that where if you can understand these different principles and then how to move through them, how to adapt to them, you're gonna be able to take care of your cup. Y'all see I got this nice cup right here, yeah? Got a nice cup? I need y'all once more, overflowing. When you get to a certain extent right here, or whatever line it might be, your body will start to exude certain symptoms. Why is that important? Whether it be headaches, migraines, low back pain, burnout in particular, the body, when it's depleted of life, it's going to start talking to us. In our society, we're in a very masculine, do society without any space, really, to be able to slow down, to be able to be still, to be able to relax, to be able to get into what's called more of a feminine dynamic. Y'all might have been hearing masculine, feminine, and it's not anatomical, baby. It's energetic. Feminine energy, which is important for y'all to understand, is being able to rest and be able to stay still and be able to pull from y'all intuition, this dream cultivation that we're imbued with. And as we're able to do that more of a society and individually for yourselves, it's gonna allow for then the masculine structures and the things that we need to do with a more sustainable expression. So the masculine creates the structure, but the feminine is important to get charged up. Does that make sense? Beautiful. With my parents, I come from a household, blue-collar workers. They both came from poverty, and they just did whatever they needed to in order to help me and my sister, not even just survive, but thrive. They always were about like giving us a future, giving us something that they didn't have. Does that hit home for anybody? Sweet. I imagine, my parents are probably doing that same thing for y'all children or for your furry friends, which is hella important. And as I come from a background of medicine, of, just taking, pharmaceuticals, whatever it may be, when I started to feel these symptoms, when I first got adjusted and I could actually, like every fall, I would just go to trash. Like I would get sick, be out of commission for like a week or two. When I started to get adjusted, it just changed everything for me. And I was a D1 athlete. I went to Central Connecticut State University. Go Blue Devils, very important. It allowed for a lot of application of things, being able to really use my body to figure out life. which is kind of like how I got to college to begin with, and a part of why I'm here, because the grit, the sweat equity, the lessons learned, I just transmuted that into grad school, which is why I mentioned before, I want y'all to be able to appreciate, like, how much have y'all done? Like, take an inventory of your soul. Everyone know who David Goggins is? He's crazy. Love him. But he's a Marine, or he's a SEAL. He does impossible things a lot. Like, one example what he did a 100-mile marathon. After the day before, he did heavy deadlifts, heavy squats, had like Ritz and like some goopy thing for nutrition, and then willed himself to run 100 miles in a marathon. Why am I saying this? It's because he talks about the soul cookie jar. If you haven't heard this concept, I implore you to write this out a bit. Your soul cookie jar is an inventory of all of your accomplishments, all of the feats, all of the challenges, all of the traumas that y'all have gone through. And why is that important? Life is accumulative, baby. So when you can appreciate where you've been, you can have fuel to take yourself further. So the concept of the soul cookie jar. Because when things are low, when you're burnt out, when you're exhausted, when the universe, God, feels like it's just compressing you, you can grab a cookie and enjoy that. As it's a reminder for yourself that, hey, you did this beautiful thing. You got through this. I'd love for y'all to get into a space where you can understand and you can see everything that is happening to you is actually happening for you. I think that's a Tony Robbins quote. I like citing my sources. It's very important. Gotta cite the source, gotta cite the source. However, what stays the same is I want y'all to be able to just take an inventory or two of just one or two different things that you might have done or your greatest feats in your life to really be able to get present to that. I got some interaction in this workshop. Y'all gave me some time. Y'all gave me some space. I got 2.5, 3 hours with y'all, so we get to really explore things. There'll be a time to move. There'll be a time to breathe, maybe get some sun, because I got to make sure y'all backs are in a good space, you know what I mean? But there will be opportunities for y'all to write down, for y'all to take inventory, for y'all to be able to make sure that you're making this constructive for you. Because the fact of the matter is, the truth is, I can reflect or I can just say a whole bunch of things, but you are your greatest teacher. You are your healer, and you are your greatest teacher. Everything that Sam is experiencing on that 24 hours that she goes through, she has experienced. And in that, there's so many lessons. There's so many things that she's done. There's so many experiences that it's all like, I see life, it's like a buffet. It's like a buffet for you, where as you're going through things, you can appreciate what you like, what you don't like, or what's good for the soul, what's not good for the soul. Because when you can begin to honor this intuition, which is like this, I see it as like this compass internally. Maybe it has like a boop, like boop, 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 boop. A lot of people aren't honoring their intuition or don't know how to honor their intuition or have had their intuition traumatized out of them. So that way they don't understand and they don't appreciate the governance of their soul or, you know, what their heart is telling them. Why is that important? I want y'all to be able to chase y'all dreams and chase y'all heart. If y'all can have the permission, if y'all can have the energy available to you, if y'all can connect to the purpose that y'all have been through, if y'all can appreciate what y'all have gone through, then I imagine you're going to have more fuel to be able to go get after life. So if you haven't already, feel free to write down something you're super proud of. As I got some new concepts for my OGs that I'm very excited to be able to pour into. And I probably won't play music every time, so be okay with stillness. Or be okay with silence, because some people are like, and I imagine that's a good opportunity for you to lean in. My Zoomies, if you haven't heard, feel free to write down something that you're super proud of yourself. An accomplishment, a feat. Here's a layer to that too. When it comes to this accomplishment, I want y'all to search for something that you might have not have fully celebrated. What's something that has happened in your life where you really just didn't give yourself the space to really like enjoy that because you had to go be a mom, you had to go take care of work, you had to go insert whatever it may be. Celebrate yourself in this moment. I love that y'all searching. It makes me happy. whenever someone might be called to, feel free to share with the crew. Anyone on Zoom, if y'all feel called to share, feel free to unmute yourself too. No pressure, just invitations here.
I will.
Talk to me.
Mine is my service in the Army, previous service in the military.
Thank you for your service.
You're very welcome.
Jen celebrating 20-year mark teaching. Let's go. That's wild. And she's like, oh my God. Later to that, how's it feel? Because if there's one thing that y'all pull from this workshop this next time, I want you to be able to give yourself permission to feel. And I'll say feel gratitude, as this is the first lesson that's really come in lately. Self-generated recognition. Self-generated recognition. There's a chiropractic philosophy that's actually a universal philosophy. It's really dope. I enjoy studying it. And there's different laws to things. There's like cause and effects. There's the major premise that we study. There's an innate intelligence that resides in everyone individually that's not concerned about maybe the partner next to you, but is focused on making sure that you thrive, adapt, and do what you need to. That's a part of a bigger intelligence. I like to think of it as like a code that is literally keeping Earth revolving and spinning and hurling through space while not careening, crashing, or exploding. Wherever that there is an organization, there's a sign of intelligence. And if you can recognize the intelligence that's moving through you, I imagine you're going to get a lot of juice in life. Because there's a lot of dehydrated people out here. Dry. Not even like the cup member. Nah, they just dry. I need y'all to be able to pay attention to yourselves. So self-generated recognition came in for me as I've discovered that it's important for me to use my voice, however you want to label that. However, when I was growing up, I had a deep wound of humiliation where I stunted my voice and I didn't allow myself to express. I'm going to go into different core wounds in a moment, but what came through was that it's important for me to pray over myself or hype myself up and essentially become my own hype man. I'm really good at taking care of other people, or I'm really good at hyping up other people, but in the last several years, majority of my life, I hadn't realized that I wasn't talking to myself like that until I met Dr. Brett. And he did some affirmations, or we were in a workshop, we were doing affirmations. You know, when you talk to yourself, he's like, I am proud. Everyone know what that is? Okay. Well, I had never said, I love you and I'm proud of you at 23 years old. Ever. All the things that I had done, all the things that I had been through. And it just resulted in just bawled my eyes out. Couldn't even stop. It was wild. It's like 10 minutes. And the concept of self-generated recognition is so important because when you can recognize yourself, it allows for you to recognize the life that you're moving through, and it can allow things to soften. I think one of my purposes in this life is to help soften life for people. Because life is hard. It's hard enough. And you being your biggest teacher, your own healer, we can also become our own biggest critic. And we'll examine the roots of that later on. But if you're being your biggest critic, I think it is vitally necessary for you to also be your biggest cheerleader, your biggest hype man, your biggest supporter. Because we have this stream of thoughts that we're experiencing, which are not, by the way. I like to think of this like river analogy. You might be chilling in the river, that's cool, but then there might be these different debris, traumas, emotions, or things that get in the river, but you can simply step out of the river and you can be the observer of these thoughts. Why is that important? Why is that relevant? When you can be able to feed yourself and allow yourself to recognize the thoughts that are coming through you and bring positive energy and learning and lessons to that, it's going to allow for this ammo or this juiciness to life that's going to allow you to build from that. That's why I want to start off with, what have you done? What are your accomplishments? What are you doing actively? Because I imagine there's a lot of high performers in here. Just is. Now, are you taking the time to recognize yourself? Because if you're not, who's going to? And a layer to that is, or are you relying upon the external validation as a crutch that might be reflected at you? The accolades, the titles, the degrees, the grades. I want to be real about burnout. I think a lot of, I'll say chiropractors, they get so focused on the grades or they get so focused on the school that they sacrifice themselves throughout the process of grad school, which for me, it just doesn't make sense. But they're so focused on chasing the paper. They're so, whether it be money or it be the degree, the diploma, they get so lost in the rat race or they get so lost in life that they're not even celebrating like, yo, you just made a commitment to yourself, probably moved away from home as well too, which is a big feat in itself. And you're just doing. But once more, we got to celebrate ourselves. Because if we don't celebrate us, who's going to do so? And what I found with self-generated recognition with a morning prayer and then reflection. So a tool for y'all to be able to appreciate is, what was my lesson of the day? LOTD. I like acronyms. Lesson of the day. And you can just give yourself 30 seconds. What was my lesson of the day? Because you're literally talking to yourself. I think it's great that people talk to themselves. I think you're weird if you don't talk to yourself. I'll be so bold to say. But in that capacity, it's big to be able to recognize, because you're literally putting this down to paper. There's a legacy of thousands of years of human beings doing this. Neurologically, we are wired to do this, and there is emotions, there's energy, there's insights, there's flow or access to flow that you can be able to appreciate. When I say access to flow, I mean you're just writing and it's just pouring out of you. Maybe if you've spoke, you play an instrument, when you're cutting hair, whatever it may be, but there's these flow states where you enter, where you just enter a flow for half an hour, and you come out, you're like, oh shit, it's time to eat, I don't even know. And I think if you start to flirt with that state, or if you start to recognize yourself, you're in a really good place. So 2 tools for y'all for self-generated recognition is, I say morning prayer, and it can be God, universe, whatever, or you just talk to yourself. Option number 2, reflection. I got a dope roommate. He's the man. So I get spoiled. And all the time at the end of the day, we're just chopping it up of what did we learn? How did we get better? How did we advance in life? How did we progress? And that's important because progress is a keystone to happiness. Progress is a keystone to happiness. So are you celebrating yourself? And as you do this, I'm gonna keep referencing this cup here. I imagine you just you just got a little bit more water. Life just got a little bit more juicy. And being able to sensitize yourself to what fills up your cup. We're going to that more, but I want to check in, take a quick pause. How we doing? Thank you. I'd love to ask, what's coming up for y'all with this? I love it. I love it.
The thought of progress is a keystone to happiness, like something, like I host a community event and I took it over a year ago and I had all these big ideas of like, I want to be a nonprofit, like immediately, I want to do this and this, but I'm like letting go of just like an incremental step, like being happy with what I've accomplished, so taking that, like you're right on track of like where I'm at with that. Taking and celebrating even smaller steps and really celebrating that accomplishment that I already have.
Yeah. Snap it up. Snap it up. We're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate. I love that, as it is about the baby steps. If you
All leading to that, whatever the bigger thing is.
Right. Our friend here is celebrating just the baby steps of things. Because the baby steps are big steps. Nothing's guaranteed. No day is guaranteed. And the quote is, that's been coming in lately, it's just, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. We're kind of sick with, if you're a track athlete, because, we run for a sport, and that's other sports' punishments. But one thing, like when it came to like breathing in between sets or reps, it's like we always encourage each other to stay up. Like stay up, there's more oxygen available up here. There's more life available up here. So if you're able to stay up and be able to breathe more, there's more available to you. And if you're going after it in life, that's what life is about. And a lot of people just simply aren't living right now. Or they're living from someone else's intentions. They're living from someone else's plan. And I'm gonna come back to life as a video game. But you're playing as player 2 to someone else's game. You're playing as an NPC to someone else's game. When you're player 1. Because this is your life. And as you take more responsibility for it, it gets more fun. I don't know about y'all, but when someone's gonna come play some video games at my house and I was player 1, you're taking this L, bro. Or you can focus on, oh, I'm just gonna win, whatever it may be. Unless you play like a cooperative game, which is also life. But I love that. Because if you get better just 1% each day, at the end of a week, that's 7%. At the end of a year, that's 365%. That's a lot of percent. And the cool thing is, when you sensitize yourself to the importance of self-generated recognition, in these 8 domains of life, some of y'all have heard this, but this is important. There's physical, mental and emotional, spiritual, financial, relationship, profession, intellectual, different from mental, and then fun and adventure. And I can say these again, or I can write them on the board if y'all need. But there's 8 domains of life that I want to sensitize y'all self to, that these 8 domains of life literally make up life, because you're probably doing something in one of these 8 domains of life each day. And I imagine you're probably doing multiple in each and every single day, because one, y'all high-performing human beings. So if you can get a lesson from then all those 8 domains, you didn't even get better 1%, you got 8% better. And that's exciting, because then at the end of a week, that's 56% better. That's so good. There's another concept too. There are no L's. There is no failure. I think you only fail if you stop. You give up. But there's lessons available for you. Like there's no L's, there's just lessons, baby. And a lot of people, they're scared to take that jump. They're scared to take that risk. They're scared to have that conversation. They're scared to break up with that relationship. They're scared to talk to mom. But it's these bold actions. Like, I need y'all to live on Control B. If you don't know what that is, that's bold. I need y'all Times New Roman, maybe Arial, Control B, and at least a size 14 font. Because as you stamp in your life, wherever you move and however you move, it's a representation of that. And that's a really beautiful thing. Because peep this, your energy is the medicine. Your energy is the medicine. Your energy is the medicine. What does that mean? Chiropractically, or I'll say in healthcare professionals, it's important when someone's in an intake with you, you can look them in the eyes, and when their soul, their heart is crying out to you, be able to help them, they want to know, can you help me? And you gotta embody, or at least have the awareness, yes or no, which is cool, but you gotta be able to look at them and be like, I got you. You're in the right place. You're safe here. Welcome. And people can feel that. You think when people walk into the room with their head down or they're exhausted, they literally feel like a void. And then they got to check in with your mom at the hospital. They got to check in with your family member. You got this devoid human, this exhausted human, this tired human that then is supposed to somehow take care of you. It's just not a stable feeling. Or it's not a sense of stability is imbued from that. So when I say your energy is the medicine, you could walk in, you got life pouring from you. You got an overflow coming from you. You got curiosity that people are like, oh, what's he doing? What's she doing? What do you want? You want drugs? I want some. I'm on life. And it's important to be able to appreciate your energy as the medicine, because it's going to impact your furry friends. It's going to impact your kids. It's going to impact your partner. It's going to impact you. I think it was in the first round of Provider for the Provider. We talk about how do you want to experience your energy? For yourself. Put that down as a question. How do I want to experience my own energy? How do I want to experience my own energy? Because when you can start to craft, I'm gonna write something that's important. Intention. Come on, handwriting, don't fail me now. Yeah. Intention is everything. My goal for you also is to live a more intentional life. If you're not familiar with that, what does that mean? It's to be able to actually set a North Star. It's to be able to set a goal or the energy, the experience that you want to actually experience. If you don't live from your own intention, you're going to live as a victim or succumb to someone else's intention for you. And a lot of times that can be work. It can be our family. I'll write this down. Work, family. Shoot, I feel like these two alone, we can go all day about. Because if you're not living with your own intention, you're living from works or families. And I'll just put as the other one, I'll say life. Because there's life events that can happen that are traumatic that will throw you off. But if you're living from an intention, you know if you're living on purpose. Like if you're, insert profession here, if you want to experience something during your day, or if you have a goal, or you have something that you can start to focus your energy towards, well then you're gonna be able to move more effectively and move more potently. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Sweet. Because then how will you know when you're there? If you got a goal, take Nelly. You have a goal, you want to be a nurse. I imagine there's certain things that you're probably going to experience and you're going to look to experience and set as a course for your life. And as you're moving through that, you're going to feel that. That's like a accomplishment. That's getting a profession. What does it look like is like, man, you set an intention at the beginning of the day. I want to be happy. I want to experience increased joy. I want to experience gratitude. Because when you set that intention or you declare that, the universe will gift you opportunities to be able to feel and recognize that in yourself and in the relationships around you, if you're present. So a component of intentionality is to be able to be present to things, because then you're paying attention. So it's like some people, they don't take a breath for air. They're just doing, working back-to-back shifts, going from work, going into mom, not eating, not hydrating themselves, not doing the basic human things. See that plant right there? It's a nice plant. What does that plant need? Water. What else? Sunshine. What else? Soil. Yeah, good terrain. What's the last one? Air. Yeah. A lot of people aren't breathing. A lot of people aren't getting outside. A lot of people aren't drinking water. And a lot of people don't even know what the sun looks like. That's crazy. You are an extension of nature. And in being an extension of nature, you got to be able to do natural things. And if you don't do natural things and you keep putting yourself in unnatural environments, which I'll give y'all a break in a bit, you know what I mean? But if you're in unnatural environments, it's only a matter of time before you experience dis-ease. And when I say dis-ease, it means a state of stress. And in this state of stress, you are initiating the catalyst of disease processes. Why is that important? You got to be able to cultivate the nourishment that your body needs as a baseline. But then if y'all want to get deeper about it, it's cultivating the soul nourishment or the mind nourishment that y'all need to be able to advance, progress, and hey, enjoy this life. How we doing? Sweet. Intentionality, hella important. Let's see. This is something that we'll layer into as work, family, and life. These also set the foundation of, anyone read the 4 agreements? Raise your hand if you have. Let me see. Hey, what's up, y'all? Did you guys know there's a 5th agreement? I didn't know that until like a few months ago, and I bought the book immediately, and it's so good. What I want to gift you in this moment is understanding the domestication of life, or I'll say the limitations of life. Somewhere along the line, whether you were a baby, whether you're a kid, well, we'll just focus there because a lot of people get traumatized when they were younger. Someone put this cap, I'll just do this, They put this limit, I can't get to my intention, They put this limitation on us in our expression, in what's good and what's bad, what's right versus what's wrong. You're a good boy if you do that. You're a horrible son if you do that. You're a great daughter if you do that. You're bad if you did that. Understanding, I'm just saying this line, or the domestication of life, and what was the process that started to coffin people into things, because life is meant for living. It's meant to express what is inside of us. And so many people are dying slowly inside. Peep game. Needs. So I think something that's important. Where is it at? So I've read a good amount of books, and I'm just going to say a bunch of them so that way when I reference them, you'll have something that's a little familiar. Nonviolent communication. If you're a human being, you got to read that book. Nonviolent Communication by Dr. Marshall Rosenberg. It's essential if you want to communicate, or communicate, I'll say, optimally. Nonviolent Communication, The Alchemist, so good. How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I'll stop at The Fifth Agreement. Because in reading The Fifth Agreement, I understood, I hadn't heard it said like that in particular. Like, humans are domesticated, just like dogs, just like animals, whatever it may be, but they don't ever realize that they're living out of things. How humans communicate, or how humans interact with each other, is communication. And the most common form of communication is gossip. And we get inundated with that from what we see from our parents or our adults or whatever it may be. And from what I've found, it's not unless you were traumatized or you just got compressed in life so much that you had to figure out another way of interacting with human beings. It's like you experienced so much humiliation, so much abandonment, so much rejection, so much betrayal, so much injustice, so much pain, I'll say, that you just had to figure out you had to go that way. And as you find this tool, which is nonviolent communication, what it puts you aware into and sensitive to is your needs. There are universal needs that literally every human being needs. I think of it as Mrs. Claus. If you've been here before, I want y'all to sensitize yourself to what's the primary need right now as I share what they are. Meaning, aka purpose. Recreation. Fun. Doing things just to do them. Sustenance. Nourishment. Going into clause. Creativity. L. Love. Not like love, like love, like love. A. Autonomy. U, it's also an E as well too, understanding and empathy. Bless you. Then there's two S's at the end. Safety is one. Sense of belonging is another, aka community. These needs are like the ingredients of what then steer our emotions. E. Motion. Based upon your ability to get these needs met or unmet, it will lead to an emotion. I imagine if you have a need for safety that isn't being met, you're probably gonna have fear as an emotion. If it's coming from a relationship, you might have anger as an emotion. Let's focus on providers. Some people thought that they're going into nursing, and then I'll just say it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. There's a sense of meaning and purpose that now they're not experiencing because it's something else, and that could lead to sadness, frustration, or depression. I'll say as a parent, there could be a need for, I'll say, sustenance or creativity. I was just coaching a mom yesterday, and she just feels like she isn't being able to create anymore. There's so much demand. She's got to provide for her family, her son in particular, and she just feels she's lost a certain part of herself. I think progress is a keystone to happiness, but I also think creativity is also a keystone to being a human. We're supposed to create. We're supposed to bring things in the world. We're supposed to be able to, bring things out of us because I'll say creative energy or sacral energy, sexual energy, it's creative. We're literally only here because we were created. Isn't that wild? I think it's wild. Anyways. When you're able to attune yourself to your needs and which ones aren't getting met and then aren't getting met chronically, you will better understand yourself. Because you don't need to get all these met by yourself. I like this last one. See this one right here? It's community. I'll speak louder for you. Community can help you get your other needs met when you can't get them met for yourself. We're not supposed to do this life thing by ourselves, but a lot of people just like to go into a cave and knock them out. But the purpose of that is biologically, we're wired to be able to communicate with each other. That's how we started. Hey, bro, there's a saber-toothed tiger. I probably wouldn't go over there. Oh, you want to take it out? Oh, yeah, let's go. Let's ride. Collaboration, essential. When it comes to getting your needs met, I can't hit this home enough. And you can better understand the emotions or the energy in motion that you're experiencing than, I'll say, in the body. You can then understand and stop disease processes before they even happen. Because when you're getting a need, when you're having a need that's not being met for weeks, months, years, that's going to lead to emotions, which are only supposed to be 90 seconds biochemically occurring in our body. But due to this thing that we have as human beings called the mind, we can experience cycles of these thoughts that then perpetuate these emotions. And guess what? If you're not expressing these emotions, guess where they get stored? Go ahead, guess. Yeah, there you go. Just make sure you're all alive. So that's why it's understand, people see me as a chiropractor, I got headaches, doc. Why is that? Let's explore that. I don't know. Oh, okay. We can start here, that's fine. But this is where I become helping you understand and untangle your mind and your soul. Because if I can stop things here, if I can bring awareness to you here, and you can better allocate your resources and your resourcefulness to get these needs met, well, then you're probably going to experience more positive or high vibrational, I'm doing this for a reason, high vibrational emotions, so that way then you can experience that intention. Because if you want to be happy, or you want to experience happiness, you want to experience joy, you got to start here. In my coaching process, I drew this little triangle. It's called the alchemist's triune, by the way. Very important. Awareness is the first step. Because if you don't know what you don't know, well, baby, we can only go so far. So we got to do some excavating. And in the excavation, I like to ask my people about their needs or bring this into things. Because if you can understand your needs once more, and what are the ones that aren't being met for an extended amount of time, then you can appreciate the impact of that has on you when you haven't been able to take care of yourself. Because I want y'all to be able to take care of yourselves better. I imagine you're already doing it to an extent, but I need you to be better. So once more, if we can stop this process and experiencing more favorable emotions of what we want to, you're going to be more fluid. You're going to be more joyous. You're going to be happier. You're going to be more grateful. There's going to be more space available to you to be able to heal, to be able to adapt, to be able to evolve, to be able to change your life. Because once more, let's see, where I want to put this? I'll put it right here. Once more, you're player one. Player one's the man. Player one doesn't die. Player one is thriving. So I want you to be able to think of yourselves in this avatar, in this beautiful body. Like you are player one, and you get to master and the understanding of your needs, then your emotions, which then frees up more energy. Because if you don't express things, once more, it gets stuck in the spine, it gets stuck in the muscles, it gets stuck in the body, it gets stuck in the fascia, it gets stuck in the, there's so many areas because the body's it's really good at that. Some might say it's intelligent. Because if these emotions don't come out and it's too much, then the body goes, and then it stays like this until you have a space to be seen, to be heard, to be felt, to be understood. So it holds on to these things until it can let it go. And when you craft spaces and places for you to let these things go, by yourself, which is cool, and also in community, it is very powerful. Because as you heal, so do I. You want to go into the work, family, or life, focus on these two. If you are healing and you are doing the work, you're excavating yourself, you're getting more sensitive to things, you're going to impact this environment. You're going to impact your family, your son, your daughter, your mom, whoever you might be taking care of. And the caveat once more is like, when it comes to burnout, I like to remind my people, you're the sun. Player one, I'm gonna do that too. If that sun were to go out in Tucson, boy, we all gonna die. Let alone it goes out a little bit, y'all think y'all dying. So if we can appreciate, if the sun went out, we'd all suffer. Well, who's suffering or how are they suffering when you're in low energy? When you're sick, when you're depleted, when you're exhausted? How is that then directly impacting your work? And impacting your family? Is that important to you? What do you want? It's another important question in this whole thing, in this whole workshop. What do you want? What do you want? When I say that, I do mean from an intentionality standpoint, but how do you want to show up for your work? How do you want to show up for your family? Or like that question I already asked y'all, how do y'all want to experience your energy? Because I imagine that's an extension of how you want others to perceive you. What's coming up for y'all? I would love for anyone to share, perhaps, out of these needs, what's one need that's chronically not been met for some time? Let's explore that.
For me, it was safety. So I had to go through a divorce to get that met, establish boundaries with my dad to get that met. And now that I have established safety, I am thriving, but you don't know how to do it, so you just do it, and it's hard, and it's heartbreaking, and you feel like you're failing. But when you realize that you're not who you need to be for your work, your family, for yourself, it's all like a domino effect. So once I could establish, and safety should be a given right out the door since you're born,
It'd be ideal.
Yeah. But it's funny because sometimes we have to advocate for that and make it happen for ourselves. Yeah. Even though it should be your God-given right.
Yeah.
Just existing, but it's not. Like
Yeah.
the world doesn't work that way. And for me, trauma came later in life, in the last few years, not growing up. So that was interesting.
I appreciate you so much for sharing, because there's just so much there. As now you're thriving, got a new job.
About it because so many people don't talk about it. And like you help me, you have to talk about it. And I even talk about it in front of my dad and with my dad and to other people about my dad. There's no, as long as you're growing and moving through it and that person is moving through it, we don't need to not talk about things to protect somebody else, because that suffocates yourself and your soul and your throat chakra or whatever it may be. So it's important to talk about.
I'll say it suffocates your life expression.
Yes.
The chiropractic meaning to life is the expression of the intelligence through matter. The expression of intelligence through matter. What does that even mean? The body is the matter. You're created by this beautiful intelligence that allows you to do all that you need to the intelligence created force or energy, meaning emotions. So if you don't express your emotions, which is literally the meaning of life, then those emotions are going to start to, those unexpressed emotions are going to once more start to impact your life. And what Christina just shared is the importance of being able to draw a boundary.
I had an unexplained nervous system, like they thought I had a mess at one point, and it wasn't that. It was not being in a good environment and depression and yeah.
It was good to even hear just your tone of voice. Again, how much, do y'all hear how like at peace and integrated she sounds? That's a great sign of integration. Integration is a quick side point, which is very important because a lot of people can just keep once more doing these things or sitting with different, I'll say, experiences, workshops, this workshop right here. But if you don't allow things to be still, if you don't digest things, if you don't sit with them, then that's just keeping things in a perpetual state of chaos. And if things are in chaos, well, it's going to be undulating. That's a sign that things need to be able to come here because something can't stay in chaos forever and thrive. I'd even say if you're in a state of chaos or you're in a state of stress, that's going to allow for a certain kind of emotion or a certain kind of expression in things. This is very important. As when you can sit and be still with things and then experience a behavioral change, that's going to allow things to actually reflect and show the progress in your life. So how do I know when I'm integrated? When you sound at peace, or when the triggers that used to trigger you, upset you, take you out of your center, they don't bother you anymore. You can be in your Father's presence because you've integrated things, and you can set that boundary, and you can keep that boundary. I put provider in the middle of this because when I coach people, I don't know why, but I love putting their name in the middle, and then we just doodle. It's great. Bow. Boundary of what's acceptable versus what's not acceptable for me. Y'all need vitamin N in your life. I said this last time. Y'all need some no in your life. Y'all need to be able to say no. No more. I will not allow this to be able to impact my energy. Keep it there. I'm not going to allow this to impact my energy. So when it comes to crafting a boundary, it's a lot of the times necessary because people, based upon their domestication or this coffin, they won't be sensitive to then what's penetrating their lives or what's bleeding them of life, whether it be work or family. And I think family is very important because as we journey through different things, our family is what's given to us from birth. Like that's who attached to us by blood. They're not going anywhere for the most part. So in that, I think there's also potent lessons with our family to be able to unwind so that way we can experience mastery. Mastery of what? This life. How to move through it. How to enjoy it. Life's a roller coaster. It's like this. Maybe it's not for you, but for me in this, for last few years, it's been like this. And it's like as I've gotten more sensitive to things, there will be something freaking amazing that happens. And the same day, punched in the heart, whatever it may be. And the question I want to ask y'all is, can y'all sit with that? Can y'all navigate that? Can y'all find gratitude in that? Because if life was just like this, I imagine you're probably dead. However, if you can start to be able to navigate life and appreciate life and how it's moving through all the waves, because you're supposed to experience these things. You're supposed to experience these emotions. These emotions, poor box. These emotions are a gift. And when you can be able to understand how, I heard this recently, emotions are how we connect to spirit. Emotions are how we connect to God. Why? Because we wouldn't be able to feel things if we weren't supposed to feel things. Does that make sense? Like we couldn't feel these emotions if we weren't designed to literally feel them. I want to take a quick pause because I feel like someone wants to say something.
I was just going to say, I think the most difficult thing, as you can see, I'm probably one of the older people here, but
Says who?
is finding the time and making sure that you're accepting, I need some gratitude. because the steps are in any path are so difficult, and you're going through all of that. But when you do, reach some kind of a point where you're like, that was okay, and actually finding gratitude and being grateful for such a small increment, because it's not over. It's never over.
Thank you. This is also very important. This is a space for y'all to feel. I put toilet paper right there. And I put, oh, how'd you get all the way over there, TP? Who wants it? No, I'm just kidding. I'll just put it right here in a nice neutral space. But the invitation is, let that shit go. You're not supposed to hold on to that. And don't you dare leave this workshop leaving the same person that you came as. I want you to be able to let that go. I want you to be able to breathe. It may be difficult, or it may be new, or it may be different to express in front of other people. But I guarantee you, these people are going through their own thing, or have gone through their own thing, or they're about to go into their own thing. I forget the quote, but it's like someone's either going into a storm, they're in the freaking storm, or they're exiting a storm. And I think that bonds us as human beings, and that's very important to be able to appreciate, because once more, when you have community and you have a sense of belonging, you will have more bravery, you will have more courage to be able to experience the waves and ebbs and flows of life, and you'll be able to experience more of this richness without getting stuck in it. Because so many people don't even want to feel. I'm a Black Latino male. The regular for us is to hold that in and or experience anger. Black boys don't cry. A paradigm that I had to shed when I was younger. Very seldom saw my dad cry, unless it was something massive. But I'd never seen him weep. Y'all ever see a black man weep? Tears the soul apart, man. At the same time, it can be a really beautiful experience, because we're supposed to feel these things. And a lot of people, they get worried that they're going to get stuck in feeling these emotions. And or they might have the perception that they're not going to be held as they experience these emotions. Why is that important? Well, if you're not able to go into these waves, you're already stuck. If you're not able to go into these waves, you're already holding on to emotion that's not moving through you. So do you want it to continue to impact your mind, your soul, and then your body? Or do you want to be able to let that go and stay dynamic and fluid? Which, once more, community is everything. Ooh, I appreciate you sharing. Just had a quick flow on autonomy and how important it is. And if you don't have this need for autonomy that's being met, it can corrode and chip away at all the other needs, as a lot of us are employees or moving in alignment, or moving, I say, subject to another mission or someone else's mission that may not be complete in alignment with us. Thank you for sharing.
I would like to kind of piggyback off of that.
I'm not used to that.
That's one of the needs that I struggled with a lot, especially with my journey in nursing school. And I'm sure a lot of us in healthcare struggled with that, especially the last few years. And so it's important, especially like, I guess, kind of tying in with what we've talked about before, about appreciating the things, or taking inventory of everything that we're grateful for. and that is setting a boundary, and autonomy is so important. And I almost went against myself, what I believe in, for somebody else, for work, for this. And it just gives you like a sense of betrayal that, like she said, would cause issues with, it wouldn't allow you to meet all the other needs. So like nurturing yourself, loving on yourself, like, so I can understand that.
Y'all hear that? Sweet. Y'all want to take a break in like 5-10 minutes? Sweet. Let me get through this next concept so y'all have some things to think on. Take a break, say 10-minute break. Maybe get some sun, get some air, connect, use the lavatory, whatever y'all need. Because then we're going to dive in afterwards and just how life is a video game. But I think we're really covering good ground. How y'all doing? Sweet. So something that Nelly just reflected is very important and potent. So has anyone heard of the 5 wounds of the soul? I already said them earlier. I think it's 5 wounds of the ego. I talked with this with Anne-Marie yesterday because I think it's more appropriate. It's not important why. There's, where do I want to put this? Put this right here. There's betrayal. There's, rejection. There's abandonment. My spelling's great. There's humiliation. And then there's injustice. These 5 experiences, I'll say they're perceptions because it's important. A lot of people, and which is why I started talking about needs and emotions, a lot of people can say, I feel betrayed. That's not an emotion. It's not an emotion. I imagine you probably felt pissed. You probably felt angry, like, but you can't, there's no biochemistry for abandonment. There's no biochemistry for humiliation. I felt embarrassed a lot of my life. Even if I want to say I felt stupid, that's not an emotion. There's not an emotion for stupid. This is important to be able to understand these 5 core wounds because I think majority of human beings experience this in some way, shape, or form. I imagine heartbreak can be one of these, maybe in betrayal. Heartbreak is something we all experience, whether it's the death of a loved one or it's maybe the transitioning of a relationship. Rejection. I don't think it's important to go through things. Abandonment, humiliation, injustice. The main point that I want to impart to y'all is what Nelly just said, which I love, which gave me this permission to do so. I'll put this. Self. I think it applies to these 4 primarily as, what is that? Is that an F? Stay tuned. All right, we back. Self-betrayal, self-rejection, self-abandonment, and self-humiliation. I think a lot of human beings really beat themselves up about things which could have started as an external force. Reminder, bow, that's you. External force happens onto the provider, which then elicits some emotions because one of these needs was violated. And I imagine a lot of them, safety is a very common one. So understanding the betrayal, rejection, abandonment, humiliation, and injustice that one can experience, it's totally valid. Don't get me wrong with that. And what that can then cycle into and allow is then self-betrayal, self-rejection, self-abandonment, and self-humiliation. It becomes perpetual. It becomes a cycle. So you end up traumatizing yourself from something that happened years back. And the messed up part about it is you might not have even been conscious to it. You didn't even know. Like, you didn't even know. And this just kept happening all the time. Man, why do I talk to myself like that? Oh, I was humiliated. I wasn't deserving. I don't want to be a burden. You can pick any myriad of the different thoughts that can come through us that then lead to different things. But when you're able to understand what happened to you, who put you in this coffin, whose voice is this, then you can understand, oh, okay, that was an external stimulus that happened to me. Okay, well, let me evaluate what needs got violated, straight up. What emotions are coming out of that now? And then how can I reflect on, what had happened so that way I can transmute into something that I want to, which we're going to dive into in the second half, which is, I'll just say, the future. Because if not, what's the cost? What's the cost, or what's the default reality if you keep allowing yourself to experience these different things, or you keep unchecking your needs, you keep unchecking your emotions, and keep going to needs? Because communication. Whatever you give to your people, it's a gift. In your relationships. In how you deal with things, because once more, there's relationships in all these, unless you're just by yourself, and unless you're solo dolo. But even if you're solo dolo, you still got to communicate, I imagine, with humans in some way, shape, or form. It's just inevitable. So we might as well get good at it. And instead of being good at it, we can be great at it, because the vast majority of humans, they don't know this verbiage. This is very new for the majority of human beings, which is like, I already talk funny enough, but when I talk like this, people look at me with their head sideways. But the antidote, which I want to give y'all before we take this break, is how to heal through these things, or how to actually craft things in a potent way. I think it comes with self-humiliation, or I'll say humiliation in regard. I think an antidote to that me and Lou talked about is self-respect. If you respect yourself outstandingly, that then becomes the standard in which others interact with you. Dog, you're not going to talk to me like that. Watch your mouth. In relationships, take a few of my relationships. There was this boundary that I didn't treat myself with, and I didn't respect myself with, so I allowed them to talk to me negatively, allowed them to insult me. And because I had this deep wound of humiliation, that I wasn't even conscious of when I was abused when I was younger, how do I say this? This sparked a very intense emotion out of me. Like, if people came at me, like bullied me, because I used to have an afro, super skinny in high school. Kids are jerks. It's not important. But there's this trauma of humiliation that kept happening and happening and happening. And my adaptation was like, oh, I'll tear your ass apart with my words. I'll get strong enough so that way you can't even say anything. So if you say something about me, I'll shut your ass up. Humiliation. When you can govern and cultivate self-respect for yourself, things are going to shift. Rejection. Self-acceptance. No one can reject you if you accept yourself. Go ahead, try. Betrayal. Self-loyalty. Are you loyal to your non-negotiables? Are you loyal to your principles? Are you loyal to, do you even know what they are? Here, I'll do this. Non-nego. Fuck. There's an I in there. Negotiables. You need to have your bedrock. What are your non-negotiables? So for betrayal, self-loyalty is important, but what are you loyal to? Some of my non-negotiables are integrity. If you don't have integrity, you don't have anything. Integrity in the sense of what you say you do, and integrity in the sense of you're in alignment with your word. You're impeccable with your word. It's an agreement. Number 2 is symbiosis. I got to be able to be in environments and places where it's an equal exchange. Otherwise, I'm just going to deplete myself, and I'm tired of that. Don't want to do that no more. I'm all set. 3rd is service. I love serving people. That's why I'm here. It feels really great for me. 1 used to be gratitude, but it's just I have a lot of gratitude, and it just is me. I have a lot of aspects in that capacity. And then a 5th one would be consideration. I find it vitally important for me to be able to consider, how are y'all doing? What are y'all feeling? What are y'all going through? If we're on the same team or if we live together, I got to know where you're at so I can best support you. This makes up the bedrock for your existence. And it also makes the bedrock up for what you're going to allow and then not allow. Because when you're self-loyal to yourself, you can heal through and you can not experience betrayal. Rejection, self-acceptance. Abandonment, this one Luke came up with. Self-love, or love of self. If you love yourself so much, it doesn't matter what anyone may do to you. When I was going through my last breakup, my boy's Kiwi, he's my spirit animal. And he said, the universe will keep breaking your heart over and over again until it can just remain open forever. I was like, but it hurts so bad. Which then I think of that Bob Marley quote. It's like, to love is to suffer. It's simply a means of understanding and choosing who you will suffer for. So with betrayal, rejection, abandonment, and humiliation applied to self, crafting self-loyalty, crafting self-acceptance, crafting self-love and self-respect. These are different tools that you can begin to pull into your existence through your own exploration, which I want y'all to be able to think about, some of these different things that are coming up, on our break, so that way you can develop the strategy. Once more, you have needs that have been unmet for a certain amount of time. They're going to be chronic in nature. What's the one thing that you can do to get that unmet need met? It's just one thing that has the most potency in changing your life to get that need met. What is it? I got to have a conversation with my father. Got to have a conversation with my partner. I got to sleep more. I got to water myself. I'm going to buy a water bottle. You know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy a water bottle. Because there could be something little, but if you're helping meet one of these needs, you're going to affect your emotional state. And no. Start using other colors and shit. If you can affect your emotional state, that's everything. Tony Robbins says it. State is everything. State is everything. So if you can choose your emotional state, then you're choosing how you're going to enjoy life and what you actually want to do and what you actually want to be. Because you're not a human doing, you're a human being. So be something that you want to be. Intention. Sweet. I feel good to pause there. I'd love to, if anyone has anything that they love to share, please feel free to. If not, I'll set a little timer. Y'all can go do your thing for like 8 or 10 minutes, and then we'll come back. I'll be here. Sweet. Clap it up for yourselves. Y'all doing great. Y'all have heard of the 5 love languages? It's important to be able to sensitize yourself to how you give love, and even more importantly, how do you receive it? And if you don't know, y'all can help me out. But there's words of affirmation. I'll say words. There's gifts. There's quality time, which for me is presence. Oh, let's see. There's acts of service. Nice. Service. What's the last one? Touch. Duh, Jamal. Duh. You would think that my love language would be touch, but in actuality, it's actually words of affirmation. This was a very important concept that I discovered too, because I think it's because I felt humiliated. There was a massive wound in my heart that then sensitized myself to words from people that I respected. This is also important too, where I feel like it's relevant. I think that it's relevant. When you can understand your love language, you also understand how to hurt someone more. So with my understanding that I had of my love language of words of affirmation, so when I was choosing partners that then would disrespect me, would say insulting things to me, those words of affirmation now became words of destruction. So the importance of understand the duality to things, so that way you can then sensitize yourself if you're in an unhonoring environment to then get your needs met, but in particular with this one, get your need for love met. And it's beautiful that Nelly shared that, there's the Gandhi quote where it's be the change that you wish to see in the world. Well, she wanted more love from her parents, so what'd she do? She loved on her parents. And I think that's a very important strategy to be able to implement, especially in relationships. You want more of something, well, be something. You want better communication, well, increase your communication. And that could be a whole rift of things. But I just wanted to riff on that love one. Thank you for sharing, Nelly. Back to you.
The one that I've been thinking about recently is sense of belonging, and it's gonna definitely tie in with what she shared and what you're sharing of like, it comes back to you. So sense of belonging, particularly coming out of COVID, like feeling isolation and working remote. I work with a lot of amazing people, but we all like are in our little bubbles doing our thing and realizing it's on, like I can reach out, and honestly they're feeling it too. I just assume that they're not. Like, I think everybody else is okay, and I'm the only one that's feeling this like thing, but it's not true. And just me making an effort to reach out. It's been great.
It's been going well.
Yeah.
What have you felt since reaching out?
I mean, it's, building community and connection and camaraderie with people I work with, and being able to encourage each other and just know, okay, we're all going through this together, and
Yeah, snap it up, snap it up, snap it up. Oh, that's good. It's amazing how things flow through, because I thought I was going to share on the 4 agreements because they came through conversation once more with Anne-Marie over there as being able to appreciate things over here. Like I mentioned, non-negotiable. So for betrayal, self-loyalty. Agreement number 1, be impeccable with your word. Y'all get orange because it's my favorite color now. We're going to switch the tone of this shit. Be impeccable, with your word. What does that mean in case you don't know? Don't use your word contrary to yourself. Don't talk meanly to yourself. And if you were to share with like a 5-year-old, a lot of humans aren't impeccable with their word. Once more, maybe I'll think of like a different construct. I'd love y'all help with that later. But the domestication, whatever put you in the coffin, that then infected you and your thoughts in your mind, or you had this betrayal, which there was an absence of self-loyalty, but in addition to, I imagine, establishing your non-negotiables and being impeccable with your word, you're able to use your word for you. Promises you make to yourself, recognizing yourself, going back up to the beginning conversations where we first started this journey. Being impeccable with your word is necessary for that, because if you're not impeccable with your word, well then I imagine you're going to experience more dis-ease in your life, stress in your life, lack of something in your life. Because the 4 agreements, it's all about how to live, I'll say live happier or live more in alignment with your heart. It comes from a Toltec tradition and Toltec philosophy, which is essentially they were artists of life. They were artists of the soul. So I imagine you're doing really deep work when you make this agreement, because agreements, I think it's important to define, it's something agreed upon by 2 people. But in this realm, it's more so something that you were inducted into. But you were a kid, so you didn't have the wherewithal to be like, no, I'm not interested in that. Or no, I don't want to do that. Or no, I don't agree with that. Can we talk about this? I'm a bad boy if I have Chips Ahoy and I just bang on this. Can we talk about this? Or from a more moral sense, it's like you're bad or you're not good, or the element to that is guilt and shame. We're from this now, or later. Let's get through this first. Agreement number 2. Don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions. When you don't make assumptions, it's creating immunity for yourself in what other people might be experiencing. People are going through their own world. They're going through their own life. They're going through their own trauma. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know what someone is going through. People are just, they just hold everything in here. And they're, once more, they're player 1 in their story. They're player 1 in their movie. They're player 1 in their life. So how you might see someone isn't how they see themselves. Like something I've said to coaching clients in the past, or God, I'm laughing because it's wild. Partners, like I used to say to sometimes my partners, man, I wish you could see you how I see you. And in a coaching room, it's like, do you talk to yourself how you talk to your clients? Do you talk to yourself how you would talk to your patients? What's the gap? Do you talk to yourself like you do to your daughter? And I'm saying these things because I imagine it's coming from a realm of deep service and love. And there's something that's unacceptable than when it comes to us looking in the mirror. Because if we're not giving, once more, recognition, if we're not starting with us, and that's the standard in how we go about the world, well, then there's a gap. And what's the gap? It leaves space for people to hurt us in this realm, or more so for us to hurt ourselves in that realm. people think that, or they say, oh, I overthink. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm an overthinker. I can appreciate it because I've identified as an overthinker. But I think it's just an overwhelm of not knowing what to do with all these thoughts. I like to think of thoughts of like, they're the ore, they're the ammunition. But how you lock and load them, or what you do them, what you craft them into, they're the clay in which you make your life. They're the clay in which you make this pot, which is you. So the question is what do you want to do about it? Number one is be impeccable with your word. Number two, correlated with self-acceptance. Well, not self-acceptance. I say more so self-love and self-respect. Was don't make assumptions. I like it just because it's simple, but it's because when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. It's like, because when you're just leaping for something that may not be true. That's why communication is important, so that way you now have the tool set to be able to start to discover what are your unmet needs, what are their unmet needs. But I'll start with y'all, because if you can understand your unmet needs first, you're gonna now have more space to then consider the human being that you're sitting next to consider your family, to consider what's going on in your work. But if you're just lost in a state of stress, anger, frustration, depression, sadness, anxiety, burnout, well, at that point, it's forget about the world. I don't care about the world. I was like, I'm trying to figure out my own things here. But when you have a tool set to be able to communicate through things, and you have an awareness of these agreements of be impeccable with your word and don't make assumptions, you start to gain footing, which is very important. Third agreement, don't take things personally. Don't take things. Why is that important? Well, when you don't take things personally, I imagine you're also governing more self-respect, self-acceptance, self-love. Like these are now starting to meld with each other because these are so potent. Every cause has effects. So I imagine if you're out here making assumptions, you're out here not being impeccable with your word and treating yourself with respect, and you're taking everything personally, oh man, good luck. You're gonna be so reactive. You're sensitizing yourself and setting yourself up for a lack of success due to these stimuli. So now when these stimuli happen, you're gonna adapt, or instead of adapt, you're gonna respond in a way that's not in alignment with your intention. Versus, stimuli happens, boyfriend says some stupid shit. I'm not gonna take things personally because he said some silly things. I'm also not gonna make assumptions of where he might be and why he said that in the first place. And you know what? I'm doing great. So I'm gonna make sure I'm impeccable with my word. I build myself up. And this is the last component of things. Always do your best. Why is that important? When you understand that you're always doing your best in whatever you may be, wherever you're at, emotionally, physically, professionally, wherever it may be, you can give yourself grace. You gotta give yourself grace. Life's already hard. So if you're calcifying life and how you're perceiving it versus making it malleable and softening it, you're only gonna make these stimuli more crucial or more powerful or stronger. So that way then when they happen to you, they're just gonna be like, whoa. And in recognizing how you're always doing your best, you're able to give yourself grace, but you're also able to see other people. My boyfriend was doing his best before he said some silly shit. I love him anyway. Now, let me communicate my needs of love. I'll probably add in respect so that I can communicate, wow, babe, I could have ended your life just a moment ago. I have a need for respect. Because without this need for respect, I have emotions or I'm experiencing extreme anger. Then the last part to that is making a request. What would your silly ass like to do about this? And more appropriate, it's more so, what can we do to help get this need met? or what are you open to doing or talking about to help get this need met? Are you open to not talk to me like that? That's where the strategies, there's an infinity of those. But that's why it's important to operate out of be impeccable with your word, don't take things personally, always do your best, and don't make assumptions. It keeps you more grounded. And it also, I'll do this. These dotted lines represent a softness to life. The stimulus that you're experiencing with life is now softer versus hard. I'm trying to delineate with the colors. Orange is usually really happy things. So whatever is happening in your life, you can be able to move through it with more ease, more grace, with a tool set and awareness of evaluating what are your needs that have been getting met or unmet. What are the chronic emotions? These are just examples of different stimuli or traumas that people experience. But when you ground yourself in these 4 different agreements that you can now adopt into your life, you're gonna stay more steady and be able to be more adaptable to whatever's happening in your environment or whatever's happening in life, in your family, or in your work.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this, and what I'm really present to is the space left blank by injustice.
Olivia mentioned that. And I don't remember, and this is very candid if you guys can't tell, I don't remember in our episode talking about injustice because it's tough to do from like a self way, but in an ironic sense, that's kind of where I do come. Like humiliation was the aftermath of what happened. I was sexually abused. It's unjust. And I was talking with Liv about it as well too, because she caught that too. But I didn't even catch that. I missed that. I think with injustice, when Liv asked, well, how does one heal through that, or what do you do about that? I think it's perspective expansion. What does that mean? I think perspective expansion and I'll say with my story and my life and what's happened to me or to continue happening to me, everything's going according to plan. May not be my plan, but in coming to Tucson, example A, I had no license, no car, no boards, or not no boards, but I didn't pass like all my boards. I was even guaranteed like a home to be. That man took me in. Life was really hard. And I just got out of a bad breakup or a relationship that simply wasn't honoring to us both in that moment. We both needed to be and honor ourselves in different ways. Didn't stop anything from my heart being crushed. And the pain that comes with that and the lack of certainty, the lack of awareness of like, am I gonna make it? With healing, I think perception increases because if the adoption of everything is happening for a reason, whoever, or the man that did injustice to me, a curiosity was able to form of, well, what happened to him? Why did that move through him? Going up in your bloodline, ancestrally or familially, what happened to them? How are my parents not honored, or how did they experience this wound? Which is with the perception and the awareness increase, you can be able to see things from a bigger scale, see things from a zoomed out kind of lens, and you can be like, oh, that's why that happened. Or you can at least ideate, because I don't think that's necessary for us humans to know every detail, but we can at least ideate because we make meaning of our words and our experiences. But with that, the question comes, well, what do you want to do about it? And for me, I don't want to carry the energy of this shit. My kids are not going to experience that. Why? Because I'm making sure I'm squeaky clean in all my energy. And I'm understanding I'm doing the work to what are the patterns that came down, because it's all energy. If you really want to talk about it, it's all energy. And this probably happened to me because of unprocessed energy. Either in the perpetrator or in my familial line.
Yeah, it's really interesting because hearing you say all that, what comes up for me is self-care. Because you couldn't have had that expansion of perspective until you care for yourself.
Which is where I met Brett, and he expanded it. Pulled off the ceiling. Looked in the mirror. Wow, I don't love myself at all. This sucks. Let's start there. I don't feel like I started living until however I was 23, 6 years ago, I feel like I just started living because life is clear, life is anew, life is like, wow, this is a lot more fun versus just getting my shit compressed. But it takes work and patience. Lou?
Extending on that, another antidote for injustice could be forgiveness.
I'm gonna riff off that. Keep in mind, forgiveness is for you. It's not even for them. I forgive the dude who did that to me. And if I really needed to, I know that I could adjust him, help take care of his nervous system. If he laid on a table, I know that I would be able to, at peace and at ease. He probably needs this more than I do. But forgiveness, if you don't forgive the people who might have wronged you, because keep in mind, that's just a perception, well, then you're carrying that venom within you. I forget the quote, but it's like, forgiveness is for you, because if not, you will continuously drink the venom of hatred, of anger, of despair, of chaos, of trauma for your life until you choose and you open up to be able to expand your heart and expand things so that way you can forgive them, so that way you can move forward. Oh, this is good. We got conversations happening.
I really like. I feel like I'm kind of in the midst of that, and I noticed that in this situation, I was like, yeah, you know, I do all that. I like the self-care and forgiveness, and kind of the thing that came to me for that was self-release, like releasing yourself from what was brought on you, maybe, and releasing yourself from the situation, and releasing yourself from thinking you have control over it.
Oof. Oof. It's good. Anne-Marie, and then Keisha.
Yeah, I would take forgiveness a step further and make it self-forgiveness.
There it is. Yeah.
And not externalizing forgiveness. I think a lot of times people experience
Motherfucker.
injustice, people constantly press this need to forgive a situation, a person, place, thing, whatever it is, and instead, where do we grow and where do we actually have control over a situation? It's always inside, and on the inner work. So beginning here in the self and forgiving yourself for any of the shame or guilt or humiliation that you may feel, or the abandonment or rejection or self-betrayal even that sometimes, that can bring us into situations unintentionally where we can be affected in ways where injustice also occurs. And so it's complex, but to me that's the first place I get my power back when I experience injustice.
The bigness of what Anne-Marie offered is like you're focusing the locus of control. It's your emotional center of gravity. Like people have a center of gravity that's like, this is just physical. But what's your emotional sense of gravity? And if you can expand it once more to yourself and what you're controlling, and man, that's huge. Self-forgiveness, because that's all it is. Then I imagine you're able to navigate once more. I want y'all to be able to navigate sustainably, because life is always going to present these stimuli. But then how this is some structure and how y'all can adapt, and how y'all can create a bedrock for yourselves so that way you're unshakable in how you're wanting to respond, because you're living with intention and a vision for your life, which I think. Yeah, we're going to get to the end. Oh, this is good. Okay. What's up, Keisha?
Yeah. So what does it look like to be unshakable? What does it look like to communicate for oneself? You guys have led me on this path. I too have been exactly in this space for the last couple of weeks. It started with self-care. I had to recognize that I was feeling a sense of unfairness in my environment. That's the injustice part, right? Then I had to forgive myself for actually feeling, right, the way that I felt. I shouldn't feel this way. I should feel that way.
Ooh.
And then I had to get to, what did you say, the
Self-forgiveness?
Self-forgiveness, which has led me to where I'm currently at, which is self-advocacy. Right? It's being able to effectively communicate that journey such that I'm creating the environment that I really want, and enrolling the people around me
Ooh.
what it looks like to
Did you say enrolling?
yeah.
That's good. That brings up Landmark Forum. Have you been? She goes, yeah. But it's such a good word, because you think about enrolling school. You're enrolling people, or you're enlisting, you're inviting people into being able to communicate. And you just put a word to this. Because what communication is, it's self-advocacy. And it can come from a very preservation sense or guarded sense at first, but when you've worked into, I imagine, this area, which is where we're gonna go, you're able to then effectively advocate for yourself. Then you make the decision, which is, we're just in awareness, y'all. My people that have been here for some time, like, there's so much to go through awareness, because then the next phase of things is action, which is then now you're starting to self-advocate for yourself, and you're drawing the boundaries. This is a boundary, by the way. You're drawing the boundaries around yourself of what's no longer going to be allowed in your energy, in your field, in your conversations, in your home, in your relationships. And then the efforting of things is to be able to keep drawing that boundary, but then also be able to advance in a way that's in alignment with where you actually want to be, based off your intention. And I'm going to go deeper into action and actualization later, but I think it's going to naturally unfold, because I want to leave y'all with thinking about y'all vision, thinking about what y'all want, thinking about, what is life going to look like, and ideate a little bit here, because y'all discovered this already. This is a mastermind. If you're not familiar with that concept, it means there's 20-something people that you're putting your minds together to figure out each other's problems. It's really dope. It's some of my favorite things to do, which is why you're here. What's up, Liv?
No, I'm just wondering, when you said how community is so important, how do we all play a role in community? Because I would think to do something as big as justice, there would also be like a community role in that.
I agree. I'm choosing. What'd you say?
I said, let's talk. That's my intention.
Oh man, well, if you want to explore things, I'll say from a male point of view. Oh, I don't even want to go there. Maybe I do. When there's injustice, pick whatever one it is. The injustice that continues to be allowed, I'll say, in the world, if you want to focus on Tucson, or if you want to focus on these different communities, it will only be allowed due to the level of integrity of the group. Because then when you're in community, you can check each other. And I'd even put a invitation for the men. We got to check other men. We got to step up for our women and our queens. Because I love the quote. It's like, excellence, it's not what we do, it's what we allow. If you want to talk about how a community governs and treats itself and regulates itself, that's a whole nother word that's important to talk about. How do you regulate? I'm trying to teach y'all how to self-regulate, but there's things that go beyond, which is the injustice of what a person can handle in themselves. So that's why you lean into the community to advocate for yourself. Someone hears that and they're like, oh, nah, no more. Oh, Keisha, I'm glad you said something. Let's get that taken care of. Let's now move into action. And then how do we keep then what we crafted in the action? It's actualization, which means actually putting your hands on the driver's seat and being what you said you actually want to be.
And it's relearning what it looks like from a conscious, what it's called conscious accountability.
Yeah.
What does that look like when we do it in the community? Yeah.
And I think that can be very dynamic. I don't think that it looks one certain way, but for me, what it can look like is checking, I'm trying to watch my language, it's checking people that need to be checked. Because if we don't check them, then they'll keep doing the things that they're going to do because they can't check themselves clearly. And as a man, if you're fucking up as another man and you're just messing everything up, you gotta be checked, bro. This is no longer gonna be allowed. And if there is a behavior that's not being checked and there's an awareness of it, then a group of individuals, I imagine, needs to present this or then take care of things, which is why I think tribe is so important. Community is so important, and communication is so important. But if someone's not receiving feedback, like, hey, dickhead, stop, that's not good, or that's not sustainable, well, then they're just gonna keep playing out destructive patterns that then are gonna hurt some of the community. And until an adaptation is made for it to not hurt the community. And I imagine, you got me on a tangent, I imagine, say it's a cell. That cell may not be aware of how it's impacting the whole organism. Because this is one species, it's one, we're one. That's why there is no separation, there's just a perception of separation. If you're able to, or when we're able to take care of that cell, that we call it a cancer or whatever you want to call it, it's got to be able to go into autophagy here. We got to shed it. You will no longer be allowed to do this if you can't correct yourself in this community, in this way. So that way the organism can then adapt for better, I'll say for thrivability. Because if it's not, then it's probably in a state of survival because one of the cells is in survival because of this. And there is a myriad of this all across the world. Why? Because I think that there's an energy of anger, hate, war, disconnection. But I'll probably just focus on disconnection and anger because I think if someone is disconnected, they're not operating with an awareness or with a consideration of the whole and then how they're playing into that capacity. Why aren't they? They're probably freaking traumatized themselves. And they haven't had the community, they haven't had the resources, they haven't had the resourcefulness, they haven't had the opportunities or the spaces and places to be able to actually transmute that. And maybe it's unconscious and maybe it's conscious. Yes?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I mean, that's why so much of this stuff is important. I would say all of it is important, getting back to this place of wholeness and well-being.
That's not right.
And self-respect. Because when you feel that way about yourself, and you are the sun, like you were saying up here, well, you transmit that to everybody in your circle.
Yup.
And I think so much of what's missing is suns shedding light on each other so there's that collective strength. And without that collective strength, it allows injustice to run unchecked.
Because you could say, you know, a sun ray, it brings light to things. We're all pieces of the sun. If we're bringing awareness to things that's going to have light on it, then when people see now this thing that was now in the dark, the question becomes, what do you want to do about it? What's going to be allowed? What's not going to be allowed? Because then now the whole group and the awareness, example A, like you can take this however you want to, but it's like, we had that spill over on I-10. I was like, there's apparently chicken farms blowing up left and right and all these different things. Or I'll say that there's destructive forces at play for a majority of society that's going to lead to food shortages, all these different things. As a collective, we see it on Instagram. It's like, oh man, okay, keep scrolling. What would it look like if we are like, forget this, no more. We're going to remove ourselves from the system. We're going to remove ourselves from the relationships that aren't honoring or aren't taking us into consideration and our needs. So if we're moving with an awareness of we are taking, I think it's responsibility. It's responsibility and ownership. Like this, it's taking ownership of your life. It's choosing not to be a victim to life anymore. Whatever and how massive the trauma and how massive the stimuli is, you have the capacity to adapt. And I'll take it a step further. Because you experienced what you experienced, you were meant to experience that. Once more, it was in the code of the game. Plugged in, Jamal Frooster. It's a great game. How do I want to play it? Do I want to keep running away from things, or do I want to lean into these things to try and allocate my resources and my awareness and my consciousness to be able to get a party together, get a raid together? I can't wait to take y'all into how life is a video game. Or do I want to just keep doing this on my own and just drown in the big stimulus? Because it's not to say that life, or to belittle life and what can happen to us, but it's a lot, or it can be a lot. But when we can start to shift it to it being lighter through self-advocacy and responsibility, but starting with awareness, well, that's when we can start to take more potent action. Because when you're aware of things in a new way, you're going to take more potent and powerful action to change your life. Because you're doing more new things because you have a new awareness. Y'all with me? Sweet. And with this new action that you're now doing, which you weren't doing before, you now have the opportunity to keep doing that action, keep being that energy, keep moving in a way where you can actually structure your life and see what it's like over time when you live from this new space versus this old space. And what that can look like in your life is like nice little gifts from the universe that come in the forms of people, that comes in the forms of gifts of, I don't know, relationships, opportunities, jobs, partners, whatever it may be. That's for y'all to sensitize yourselves to. But what it has played out for me is like this. This is a gift for me. And I imagine it's because I was able to shift things in my awareness and in my action to make sure I got my ass to Tucson and I could serve y'all. Going back to self-recognition. If you're creating the space for self-recognition, slowing down, gratitude, you're going to see what some of those gifts are. And boy, if you're going through it and you're going through a storm, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm here to say I'm with you. And that utilizing this new awareness, you'll be able to powerfully shift your life and help those around you, because when you heal, it expands your bandwidth. A lot of people got no bandwidth. It's cold and they're like, fuck it, I'm not going outside. When you can expand your bandwidth and you can expand things beyond you, well, then you can consider other people once more. But it all starts with you. And the question is, I keep coming back, what do you want to do with it? What do you want to do about it? So people are like, nothing. I imagine the people that are here, y'all gonna be like, all right, I'm about to go crush life. Or at least I'll be able to adapt to life. Great questions. I am grateful that we got to explore that some. Do y'all feel complete with that? Sweet. Have a big breath in. Boat out. My Zoomies, how you doing? I got thumbs up, I got waves. All right, let me see. I'm probably gonna flip this thing. And one thing that's important, I've said this before, and come in the analogy, and as I'm about to blow through that thing in a minute, but I don't pray that people have an easy life. I pray that people have a worth it life. That you can extract like the right amount of challenge yet ease. And that with that, you can really navigate life very potently and very powerfully. And with that, and being able to utilize your emotions as tools for your soul's growth, you're gonna navigate the signposts that they are, because they're evidence that something is alive inside of us that we got to gift to those around us so that way we can best adapt. Because people see me and they're like, oh, you're happy all the time, aren't you? I'm like, bitch, you got no idea. You have no idea. You don't know me, and you don't know what I've been through. So people, once more, make an assumption. Number one. I pray that people can have more range and be able to navigate the range of emotions more powerfully, more masterfully. I think it takes mastery to be able to navigate one's emotions, to decipher one's emotions, to embrace one's emotions. Who here has seen the movie Arrival? Arrival. I got two hands. Y'all haven't seen it? Of course you have. Hey, write down this movie, Arrival. You're welcome. You're freaking welcome. Because when it comes to life, I'll say this, and all that's happened, and all that's happening, I wouldn't change anything. Ever. I'd never change anything. Because it's gifted me this awareness to be able to really have such reverence for life, such love for life. Example A, our cat died the other day, Leo. And I wouldn't ever, it's a gift. I share it in this way. It's a gift for me because he showed me what unconditional love is like. How much more I get to bring that with the energy of every interaction, every hug, every adjustment, every smile, every opportunity that I have to connect to someone. I can embody more of that love. And it's not a coincidence his name is Leo, and I'm a Leo. When he brought him to us, I was like, oh, all right, cool, this makes sense. And the potency of his being, his life, it's a reminder, nothing's granted, nothing's given. I could not make it home tonight, or I could not make it home after this. So the question for y'all is, how do you want to show up for life? Are you giving it all that you got every single day? Are you not holding anything back? Are you giving yourself permission to live and get after it in life? Are you living, I flipped it. Are you living with your intention and what your soul is calling for? Are you chasing your dream? Are you happy? You're meant to experience, I'm meant to experience this. And I think I'm really good at it because I got a Pisces moon that makes me sensitive to everything energetically. Snap. And I use that as a gift because I'm grateful that, wow, I get to be this little nerve cell that's Jamal, that's an extension of the humanity for the species, so I can transmute this pain into power for myself, but then for other. Because I understand how my energy is set up. Astrology, human design, my life application. And I don't say astrology, human design loosely because people hear that and they're like, oh, that's a pigeonhole. I don't want to be pigeonholed. I don't subscribe to that. But instead I use it as a blueprint to understand how do I need to navigate through life. And hey, this thing that's been around for thousands of years, it's actually pretty true. If you want to recognize it. I'm saying this to say, life is meant to be lived. Life is meant for you to live all out with it. And it's just a matter of you being able to master the emotions, because that's such a gift for you to then progress in this life. Which brings me to my final point. Life is a video game. Ooh, I don't like that. There you go. Player one. Oh, this is exciting. This is the first time I'm sharing this. So I'm really, really excited. Y'all ready? Sweet. Have a breath, because we about to go through this thing. All right, peep game. So, Avatar. Oh, side note. I played World of Warcraft. Anyone play? Anyone play? Ever? Ah, not one? Fine, that's fine. Feel bad for y'all. World of Warcraft was the game that I played when I was just in my shit. When I was younger, I was getting bullied. My best friend, Harris Borowski, allowed me a space where we can just play and we can just enjoy life. And there's something about like an RPG or role-playing game where you get to create your own character, you get to name them, then you choose, this is important, you choose your class, but you also choose like your race. So like there's orcs, there's gnomes, there's like all these different things. What's important is when it comes to a video game, first of all, you gotta pick the name. Who are you? Who are you? And do you take ownership to that? I'll say that there's race and class. Race. I connect this to family. You were born into the Monday clan. Clearly there's great smiles from it. I don't know. Hey, with the clan, there's certain different traumas, energy, abilities that will come from that your clan is probably really good at. I'll say, I'm black. I'm freaking fast. I like to think that I have great genes from my father, who was also really fast, and it goes up in that way, in that form. What are your abilities that are a gift from your mom and dad? Is the main thing that I want to reflect at you. Because in the game, certain races have certain abilities, or they're better at certain things. When I say class, ooh, I don't want to share all of them. Just know that there's different classes, like a warrior, a paladin, a hunter, a rogue, a mage, a priest. These all have different roles in life. And the importance of that is being able to understand what's your role in life. I'll do this. There's a tank. There's a DPS, which means damage per second. And then there's a healer. These make up your homies. Based upon what class you pick, you're probably going to want to be one of these three things to then advance through life. This is important too. When you start, we'll say Tucson. We got some Tucsonans here. Depending upon your race, you start in a certain part of the map. You need to master, you have the opportunity to master what's around you. Why is this important? You got to figure out how to level up, baby. When you first start the game, blah, you level 1. You got to figure out life. You got to figure out this awareness. You got to figure out, all right, how do I, oh, okay, this is how I jump. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, I can attack shit. Oh, okay, all right, wow, this is wild. So you start to figure out how you can then advance through life. When it comes to leveling up, where do I want to put this? I'll put this right here. Level up. You can do one of two things. You can just keep killing the level 1 boars that are in your area, and that's going to take a long time. We call it farming, we call it grinding. My reflection of that in life is you can keep doing the same thing day after day after day. That could be easy too, and you'll be progressing through life, but it's going to be at a much slower rate. Versus you boldly pursue your quest. Your quest line is what's unique to your class and your race that you need to navigate, and then you get bigger experience, or I like to say fatter loot. Why is that important? A lot of people aren't on their own quest. They're lost in the grind and in the farming. Why is that important? You're not enjoying the richness of life as you're destined to, as you're meant to. Versus if you do your quest and you do the things that you're literally, that's ingrained in this version of you that you plugged into and that your soul logged on to play, and you accept that, you will level up quicker. Why is that important? This is where it really starts to get exciting. Because as you're going through the game and you're starting to get stronger, Your character is gaining better abilities. And I'll say better gear. Why is that important? What is this? Your abilities are how you master life and how you move through life. I'm using communicate. It's probably pretty effective, or at least I hope for it to be. Chiropractic adjustment, bow, super effective. Understanding your abilities is how you're able to master life and how you're able to move through things. And as you grind or as you advance, you then can qualify for different gears, so then you get different weapons. So it makes it more efficient. You can use your abilities more potently because you are now leveling up and taking the time to go through life. So you're understanding how to master this avatar that you're about, which is the main component to this. It's mastery, which is why this thing makes so much sense to me. And this is also important. I'll say Wi-Fi. If you have low quality Wi-Fi, you're probably gonna lag. And if you don't know what that means you're like, and the game's just not fun. What is that in life? It's your connection to source. Ooh, I got y'all. A lot of people navigating this game of life without being connected to source. And you know what that's doing? They're freaking lagging. You know what that's doing? They're probably very frustrated. They're probably angry. They're probably pissed. And they're probably the people that are in their cars just like this. Couldn't hold it for long. Versus the people that have great Wi-Fi and they're connected to source, they're just like, la, 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 la. I'm doing what I want. This feels great. I feel on purpose. I can actually enjoy the game that I'm supposed to versus just being this lagging, frustrated human being because they're not happy. Back to y'all though. There's different components to your character. You got your health, which is essentially your stamina, and it's typically, this is like a green bar. And I say you got your mana, or your energy. Your health, if that hits 0, you're dead. Simple, yes? A lot of people are flirting with a little bit of health. Your mana is, and your energy is essentially, it gives you the fuel to use your abilities. They cost something. So it takes an energetic investment to then choose to move more effectively. However, once more, the game of life, it invites a level of mastery. So as you're gaining more abilities and as you're leveling up, guess what you get? You get more health and you get more mana. So that way, you can take on bigger challenges. And as you're able to take on bigger challenges, guess what that leads to? Go ahead, guess. What'd you say? You do level up. That's right, Misha. And it's cool because then as you're leveling up, you also get talents. So every time you level up, you get 1 point. And there's certain trees where you get to put these talents into. So it's like occupationally, you might keep getting better and better and better. So that way then, your occupation, it's an extension of you. So you're moving more potently because you got these talents that you can put in, which then unlock new abilities. And as you unlock these new abilities, it's gonna allow yourself to once more move more potently, and you're starting to have fun. You start to get talents, it's good. It gets deeper. There's talent trees where depending upon, because you could just be a noob, and you could just put talents like all over the place, but if you focus your energy into one tree, one discipline, you're gonna elicit deeper and more profound abilities. When you add a layer of focus and craftsmanship to how you want to choose to move through the world, you're going to be more efficient and potently affect things. Oh. Here's more. I'll say quest, or I'll say, ooh. Another thing that comes with quest sometimes, there's a boss. There's something stupid strong that will smush you if you try to take it on your own. The cool thing is about then quests, you can join a party. Sounds like community, no? Because other people, based upon their race and their class, will have different abilities, a different perspective, a different way of navigating the life that you can utilize together to then accomplish something bigger than yourself. Because the cool thing about quests is that when you do them together with other people, you both are gonna level up quicker and you're both gaining more experience and a deeper level of mastery, and you're getting fatter loots. It's all about the fat loots, y'all. I'm trying to tell y'all. The fat loots is the equivalent of the juiciness of life, the enjoyment of life, the excitement of life. What'd you say, Kylan?
I almost need you to stop whatever you're saying.
Oh, Fat Lutz, got it. Phatlo. Fat Lutz. Everyone deserves Fat Lutz. That means like treasure. Yep. Oh, this is good. So, I imagine, this is new, it's coming in right now. When you're navigating a certain dungeon or a certain cave, that can be a dark part of life. You have everything that you need right now in this moment to be successful or to navigate or to level up. You just haven't found it yet. You just haven't partnered with the right people yet. You just haven't walked into the chute that you could just jump down and then you're in a whole new space that you didn't even know you had access to. So the invitation with that, it's like you have more access to resources, you just haven't found your way through the dungeon yet. You just haven't found your way through navigating that trauma yet. You just haven't found your way navigating this most recent stimulus yet. However, stay with it because everything is going according to plan. You just need to play a little bit more. Because life isn't about beating the video game. It's about enjoying it. It's about the process of it. It's who you meet in it. Cool part to things. When you got homies that you continue to partner with and that are allies in your health and your healing journey or in just how you're navigating life, you form a guild. Soul Fam. It's a really good time because it's people that have great collaboration, resonance, or appreciation for you and they're moving in a very resonant way. I imagine y'all have transcended in some ways besides y'all literally right next to each other. I imagine some people, they transcend just their family. So then they're starting to then consciously choose their chosen family. Why? Because they're working towards something different. Because straight up, some of our family doesn't resonate with the ways that we might see life. And that's okay, because we're not supposed to. The invitation with that is to be able to find your guild so that way you can move with the homies that want to move and do the things that you want to do and how you want to be with life. Because I imagine y'all all going after the Fat Lutz together. And with that, it's important to be able to have reverence. You got to find your guild. Find your community. If it's not where you're at right now, they're there. You just got to go find them. But you'll find them through your quality and your level of action. What's more, life is meant to be applied. It's not just to passively happen to you. You got to go get it. Universe is always taking notes. God's always taking notes. Well, what are they taking notes on? Oh, well, it's still sitting still. Good luck. So it's got to be active in things. Something that's also important because I want to bring this to a close. There's so much more, which makes me excited because I'm like, there's so much more to share on with this. In World of Warcraft, there's a concept called PvE. It means player versus environment. It means you're supposed to go out into the environment to level up. What I think we're doing as a species, instead of operating out of PvE, we are depleting the environment. So we're literally going at the environment versus utilizing it in a way that's honoring. The book, Ishmael, talks about the concepts of levers and takers. The vast majority of human beings are just taking. From what? The environment. Not only that, there's also this other aspect to it where you can play the game on PvP, which means player versus player. This is fun because you can also level and you can, because you've assimilated a level of mastery with your character, you can now go against each other and you can compete. However, this is the default reality, I think, for a lot of humans. Competing for jobs, competing for relationships, we're all just trying to gain things because we're moving out of a scarcity of life versus an abundance of life. This is very important because I think when this changes to players with the environment and players with players, we're going to flip this life thing on its head and be able to enjoy it and advance together and enjoy the game together. Because these different things as you're going through the game, there's so many bosses, there's so many quests, there's so many raids. The cool part is dungeons and raids. This is the last point I'll leave on. You got a homie here. You can form a party. That's 2 people. A dungeon, you need 5 people. So you need a tank. I'll talk on tanks. Tanks are the people that they're supposed to keep the focus of the boss or of all the different things that are going on because they have the most health and they have the most defense. So they can just take things. I imagine some providers are probably tanks. Then there's damage per second. This means these are people that are supposed to like kill things as quickly as they can. You can be a ranged DPS or you can be a melee DPS, which means you need to be in close proximity or you can just like snipe things from afar. Then there's the healers. They're supposed to make sure everyone stays alive. I imagine, due to how you navigate through life, you actually probably play different roles at different times. And it's different mastery because that's going to require different gear, different strategies, and different awareness of how you need to navigate through things collaboratively with each other. Because there's only supposed to be like one tank, a few DPS, and then a healer. So everyone has their own role. The question for y'all is, what's the role that you're playing in your community? Where are you at? What are you doing? Do you like where you're at? Or do you need to find a new party? Because it's okay. There's so many parties you can join. The cool thing is a raid. That's like 20, 40 people. Those things are fire. Like, my God. But that's where they're taking on like the biggest challenges in the game, quite literally, and it requires a lot of coordination. It requires a lot of communication. It requires a lot of awareness of what are the roles of all the individuals in your raid, so that way y'all can help each other conquer this massive feat. And even in the raid, oh, there's so much. Even in the raid, everyone has like different abilities they can give to each other. Like Lou, he's probably a mage, by the way. I'm like a Pharaoh DPS. That means I'm like this Tauren thing, which is like this thing that can shapeshift. It's a druid, it's hella dope. Lou can cast a certain buff. In real life, my lack of ability is to like market myself or like get myself out there. Good thing I got a roommate that's really good at capturing me on things on video so I can help my voice get out there more. I'm extroverted. When we first met, it was great to be able to pull my introverted friends and pull him into different environments so that way he could be exposed to different things. There's an understanding of like the symbiosis of me and him as we work really well together, and the importance of that, you gotta know your genius. What are you meant to do? Liv is my strategist. She helps my mind literally organize these big concepts into actionable things that are appropriate at the right time. Allies. So if you can surround yourself with allies or with the people in your team, in work, in your family, in your crew that you like to crush things with, you all are gonna move more potently because you're all amassing more energy, you're gaining more experience, and you're getting the fat loots. Does this make sense? Does it really make sense though? Y'all follow that? Okay. That makes sense? Okay. I feel complete in this moment. No, I don't. There's one more thing. Y'all got to know about this. Checkpoints. It goes to the first thing that we talked about, being able to create space for yourself. In a video game, when you hit a checkpoint, it's like a new default reality. If you get killed, you're going to go back to this checkpoint, or you're going to load this saved game. I know we got 70s, 80s babies, 90s babies and things. You know, the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy? Yeah. When that battery went yellow, what did that mean? Or that light went yellow, you had to go get some Duracells. You had to pop those bad boys in so that we can keep doing things, because you might be playing and then that thing's gonna turn off and then you lose all of your progress. Without saving your game, without these checkpoints, you will miss out on some of the progress of what you advanced and you efforted so hard for to begin with. So you gotta create a vantage point, or you gotta create a checkpoint for yourself, because if you don't, keep in mind, you're the only one playing the game, especially if it was Pokemon back in the day. Man, it drive me wild. You done worked for a whole hour or two, and then your Game Boy just died or whatever. Your parent might take it and then turn it off. You're like, no, my progress. We're missing out on our progress that's available for us right now that only we can recognize. So you gotta create your save points, and you gotta create your checkpoints so that way you can recognize yourself, because if you climb to the top of Finger Rock Mountain and you don't look at the vantage point that you have, you are doing a disrespect to nature. I like to equate things to the mountain, because there's always gonna be another mountain, especially if you're out here in the desert. There's always gonna be another mountain. But what are you gonna do about the mountain that you just enjoyed, that you just went up? Must be a sign. Yeah. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, man. Yes, that's so important. All right. So I stopped playing World of Warcraft. Not because I grew up. It's because there were certain expansion packs that you could download. There was patches that dishonored the effort, the work, the energy that a lot of the original players put into things. They made it really easy. You just had to click a button and you started at level 80. That took so much time, like so much time, thousands of hours to get to that point. So in life, there are no shortcuts. You can't expansion pack or shortcut your way through healing. You can't shortcut the work. Because this quote came in the other day from my brother, Dr. Tim Hartman. He said, I don't want a blessing that my character isn't ready for. I don't want a blessing that my character isn't ready for. Because even if you were to get the blessing, you wouldn't have the energy and the wherewithal and the strategies to keep it, let alone evolve it. That's why the work is so valuable, because as y'all efforting in your own lives, y'all navigating life as this big juicy video game that you're gonna play a lot more, which is gonna be dope. You're gonna be able to have so much sustenance and richness and enjoyment that wouldn't be available to you if you didn't go through what you went through. Everything that you're going through right now is gonna be a blessing if you can't see it. You just can't see it right now. However, the importance is to be able to keep mastering your life and keep mastering your emotions, keep mastering yourself, so that way you can more potently and most proficiently move through life, because there are no shortcuts. But the beautiful thing is, there wasn't shortcuts that were built for it to begin with anyway. Because I think also, I don't know, I feel bad for kids of this generation, but it's like, man, y'all don't even know what it's like to not have internet. That's an advantage for everybody here. Advantage in what? Being healthy, being more enjoyable in life, and being more present. A lot of kids born into life with just, here's an iPad. That's wild. And the advantage that y'all have is to be able, y'all have a mastery of life already within you that is sought and that is necessary for mental health. Leverage yourselves. I believe that concludes my TED Talk. Oh, that's so good. Man, I'd love to open up the space for Q&A, whatever it is that y'all need, as this space is yours. And I really want to make sure y'all feel integrated and y'all feel good and delicious before y'all boogie.
And you're talking about checkpoints. Today feels like a checkpoint. Where
Ooh, let's go. I love that.
What other kind of checkpoints do you see? Like, today feels like one for me. So.
Ooh, what other checkpoints do I see? So for me, every one of these is actually a checkpoint. It's my 4th time doing this, which feels really good. It feels good to celebrate my people, my OGs that I've been, taking care of in chiropractic, that, I can celebrate and they can see me a different way, so I can pour into them a different way. But I also think, like, after this, I'm probably going to get a good meal with Lou so we can actually reflect upon it. We can talk about it. I'm going to ideally call y'all and talk to y'all so I can get more feedback on how I can make this container better for y'all and what do y'all need next time, because I think it's important to craft your own checkpoints. I love that you said, this feels like a checkpoint. I'll ask, why does it feel like a checkpoint?
I think bringing mindfulness and taking that moment to pause and reflect on things.
Sounds great. Yeah, so again, going to, I think the question comes up for me is, how do you want to reflect on things and what do you want to reflect on? Because, you can reflect, that's why they're like, ooh, this is good. So there's micro and then macro, small then big. I imagine a micro checkpoint could be like at the end of the day. What was my lesson of the day? What did Jen learn today? A macro checkpoint will probably be like on the monthly speakers that you bring in. So that way you celebrate on the day, but then at the macro, you're like, man, this was this big event that I was building up. It involved a lot of your party that required a lot of different things. For me, if there's beings that you're collaborating with, there's so much more juice because they may see what you don't see, which is why I love Lou so much and why I love Liv and my homies from the source. What's up, Dr. Noah, Dr. Charity? Welcome. Is because as a team, we get to reflect and hit on things like what was the lesson of the week? You take it from a day to a week, it's like, whoa, then what was the lesson of the month? What was the lesson of the year? What's my intention for today? What's my intention for the week? What's my intention for the month? What's my intention for the year? Because then you can appreciate the gap, if there was one, or the progress. Does that answer your question? Great question. What else we got? Yeah.
You were saying something about a book earlier, Ishmael?
Oh, Ishmael. Ishmael? Ishmael? Tomato? It's a story about I'm not gonna spoil it. It's a story about humanity and why we're at where we're at and what to do about it. And it's one of my favorite books. Good question. What else y'all got?
You talked about non-negotiables, and so I wrote down like, what are my non-negotiables? And I don't really know how to determine like what they are. So what kind of like tools can I use?
I got a question for you. What's most important to you? And it can be even just a word.
Probably respect.
Respect. Boom. I imagine that's one. What else?
I don't know. I'm probably showing up for myself. Saying no, being comfortable saying no.
Showing up for self. Trying to put that to a word. Almost brings like presence, but I'll say showing up for self. You can even just rock with those two. And then a layer would be, why is that important to you?
I think a good way to figure out like your non-negotiables would be to talk with other people about what theirs are and to even learn what non-negotiables are. Like, because sometimes we don't even have the like words at a certain point to even know what to pick from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes I think being able to talk to other people and learn more about what those even look like.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
good.
from there.
It's good. I like to think of them, they're just like a bedrock. Like for me, like you can just think in relationships. It's like, bro, if you don't respect me, if this shit isn't symbiotic, if we're not having fun, if we're not in integrity around each other, you don't consider me, I don't want to be around you. That's just in relationship.
I was just gonna offer one way that I found a lot of my non-negotiables is I started paying attention to the things that frustrated me.
Ooh.
One of the big things that kept showing up for me was gossip. I was surrounded with people who were gossiping all the time. And during a period of reflection, it was like, well, wait a minute. This is frustrating to me because it is a non-negotiable. And that's when that energy started to shift.
Which I imagine came with presence. You got to be able to be present to what's going on around you. Lou?
It also be like a routine,
A routine?
like the non-negotiables, like I take my walk every
Yes. Like an activity. Yeah. Appreciate that.
What helped me with non-negotiables and boundaries was everybody's like, you're so sweet, you're so kind, and so I grew up very much being like, it's okay that they said that or did that to me because they're my friend or they're my dad or like they might just be having a bad day. It's okay. When I shifted like in the last year being like, this happened and it's not okay. Like, yes, it's okay that it happened, like, in the long run, because it's better for me and it helped me grow as a person, but it's not okay. And so then it's like saying, no, this is not okay, so then that's my non-negotiable. Because it doesn't feel good for me, because even though I'm, like, forgiving that person and saying, oh, yeah, you had a bad day, I understand, but if they keep repeating, that's not okay. And it's okay to say it's not okay, even if they're your
Yes.
dad.
Yes.
Or your close friend or your spouse or
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I think family, once more, it's like, I picture like a full court press. It's like your family, they're so close to you because there's very powerful lessons that are there for you to navigate through them or run away from them. And then they'll play out in different ways.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's okay.
Yep. It's good. What other questions we got? Y'all got like another 5. What's up, Nick?
Okay, this is more like maybe an observation and reflection. So small groups of support. And so I was just observing today, just from various things like what you said, felt like support, because it was like someone else is maybe, I don't know your circumstances, but going through similar challenges. And why in society do we not have small group support groups for like mental agility and building that community? You know, building community is so hard right now because we're like grinding, and so we take time to do this one class. We go away from the camp high, but then like, is there a follow up? Is there a way to create small groups within the community you form? Because I know you're a connector where you're like, you know, maybe walking away from this with meeting on a regular schedule, because I think when she was talking about what she got from Al-Anon, I was like, that sounds amazing. Like you like to go in a group and share space and kind of navigate and hold each other accountable for all the things that you said today. You know, how am I gonna live in integrity? How am I gonna put my boundaries there? I just think it's interesting how we, outside of that religious construct and sort of that addiction recovery, there's not a lot of space to just say, I'm a human navigating life and I need a small group.
That's kind of funny. I love for you to answer, Keisha. 'Cause I got questions for y'all for like a minute. Because one of my questions was going to be, you know, how can I plus this space? What do y'all need? And then what would you all like to see? Because I've thought about ways like, how do we keep this experience going? Or how do we get another touch point in between? So that way it's not like we just pick up where we left off in the monthly containers, which is great. But I would love to explore a conversation later on how I can help create that for y'all. Because the cool thing is, I don't need to know everything. I just want to put the cool people that I get to take care of with each other so they can meet the other cool people that I take care of. And it's already happening. Ain't that right, Sam? I'll take it. What's up, Keisha?
I was gonna say that, so I'll co-create with you. And
Okay.
everybody else.
Okay.
This is what we talked about yesterday, isn't it? So I actually create containers like this for that exact reason, and work with other practitioners to continue that work with the communities that they build. So there's processes in the works for that.
I'll say this. Happy to take any and all feedback. Y'all can shoot me a text. Y'all can shoot me an email out of respect for y'all time, because I really do value y'all. So if y'all don't, you know, hit me up the next 24, 48 hours, I'm gonna effort to really do that the next like week or so that we can have conversations with y'all and, you know, be able to just deepen value for y'all and get y'all needs met. Because I really am grateful to be here in Tucson, and, you know, I think that this is a very special container, and people come and go as they may, and they will, which is cool. But you know, I'm really excited to be able to create more containers like this in a very honoring way, where it's not like, you need to do this, because, yo, I get it. It took a lot probably for y'all to get here, even let alone for 3 hours. So I really value y'all time, yet I do value depth. Rich is one of my words for 2023, like really like experiencing the depth like of life. And that takes and requires time and consistency. And I really value y'all time, and I'd like to make sure that you remain consistent out of here. Through support, whatever it may be. I got a range of different things, of course, but I think the real value is community. I just like putting people together. I like setting the table. And everyone brings like some food and things, you know what I mean? Sweet. Any other final questions? I know it's been a very full few hours, so I really appreciate y'all. Anything over here? Okay. Y'all sure y'all good? Speak now. Don't you hold that piece in, though. Cup is full? Cup is full! Well, I gotta be so rude. Nate, Ash, Rach, do y'all have any questions over there? I got head nods. Sweet. Maybe in the future, you know, Liv mentioned this, maybe this is like more so like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour event more so. Then the next half hour is just like networking and community, and I can bring out some sexy food for y'all. So that way, maybe some hors d'oeuvres, or you know what I mean? Some noms. So that way y'all can just chop it up with each other. But I encourage y'all, before y'all boogie, like exchange some numbers. I'm doing this again next month. I'll probably take a break in April because we got Soul Revival, so my energy needs to go to that. But I think it's March 19th. It's gonna be on a Sunday, probably 1 to 4. So people that need to go to church in the morning can be free to come there. I imagine I'll send y'all an email so that y'all can register. Congratulations as well too. If you ain't an OG now, you are officially now. And it's like money, it's not important to me. What's important to me is y'all presence and the energetic investment, which is why I even introduced that, because I knew it would require more of the group. with that, it's like, for my OGs, if you've been coming, it's like, yo, I'd ask $15, you know what I mean? Just so that there's some skin in the game. If that doesn't feel good or delicious, or you have other ideas, let me know. Your boy's open. That's just a good strategy I got in the meantime, because I respect y'all, and I respect y'all willingness. It takes courage to be able to cry in front of people, to be able to be around strangers that you may not know, especially coming out of an era of time where there is so much uncertainty even being around people. So I really, really appreciate y'all. And I'm making an effort to keep this space sacred. And I want y'all to have the awareness or perspective that, you can always feel to come home in this container. And we'll effort to create different ways where y'all get more touch points with each other. But in the meantime, feel free to say hi, connect with a friend. I'll be here chilling if you got any other questions. But thank y'all so much for y'all trust, for y'all energy, for everything, because I don't take it for granted. So thank you.